Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi conferred with Order of Oman award. Calls it a symbol of affection and trust between the people of India and Oman. India and Oman signed comprehensive economic partnership agreement. Prime Minister calls it a new and golden chapter of bilateral cooperation. Australia promises new laws to target hate and radicalization. Prime Minister Albanese says measures aim to banish the evil scourge of anti-Semitism from his country. EU holds key summit to strengthen Kiev's hand. Polish Prime Minister says that the EU leaders agree to work on using Russian assets for loan for Ukraine. Moscow says International Claims Commission for Ukraine has no legal force. Prime Minister Narendra Modi successfully concluded his three-nation visit. The last leg of the visit, which was Oman, saw major exchange of agreements, including a SEPA and also defense and security agreements. So the Prime Minister was also bestowed with the Order of Oman award for his exceptional contribution to the India-Oman relationship and his visionary leadership.
It's a landmark moment in India-Oman ties. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was conferred with the first class of the Order of Oman, nation's highest civilian honor, by Sultan Haitham bin Tariq. The award is a tribute to PM Modi's global leadership and his pivotal role in deepening strategic ties between the two countries. This is the 29th international honor for the Prime Minister, highlighting India's rising diplomatic influence worldwide. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Sultan Haitham bin Tariq in Muscat, where both explored ways to further add greater depth to the India-Oman strategic partnership. They welcomed the signing of comprehensive economic partnership agreement and exchanged views on a broad range of topics, including defense, security, trade and investment, energy. India-Oman signed agreements that included Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, MOU in the field of maritime heritage and museums, MOU in the field of agriculture and allied sectors, MOU in the field of higher education, facilitate exchange of faculty, researchers and scholars, Executive Program for Cooperation in Millet Cultivation and Agri-Food Innovation, adoption of Joint Vision Document on Maritime Cooperation. Prime Minister also addressed the India-Oman Business Forum in Muscat. The forum saw participation by leading business representatives from both countries. PM Modi reaffirmed that India and Oman are not just close neighbors but strategic partners committed to stability, growth and shared prosperity in the region and beyond.
आज हम विश्वास के साथ कह सकते हैं कि समंदर की लहरें बदलती हैं, मौसम बदलते हैं, लेकिन भारत ओमान की दोस्ती हर मौसम में और मजबूत होती है और हर लहर के साथ नई ऊंचाई को छूती है.
Engaging young minds and honoring the contributions of Indian diaspora, Prime Minister Modi met Indian community members including students in Oman.
करतल ध्वनि के साथ स्वागत कीजिए हम सबके प्रिय आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का.
Prime Minister also addressed a large gathering of Indian community members. PM appreciated the Indian community in Oman for their hard work and commitment, which continue to strengthen Oman's society as well as the special bond between India and Oman.
आज हम सब यहां भारत ओमान मैत्री पर्व भी मना रहे हैं. ये मैत्री पर्व हम दोनों देशों की दोस्ती, हमारी शेयर्ड हिस्ट्री और प्रॉस्परस फ्यूचर का उत्सव है.
The audience included more than 700 students from various Indian schools. PM Modi met school children who gathered to welcome PM. This year holds special significance for Indian schools in Oman as they celebrate 50 years of their establishment in the country. With strong people-to-people ties, India-Oman relations carry a shared sense of belonging. With inputs from Gautam Roy in Muscat, Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, India and Oman have sealed a landmark comprehensive economic partnership agreement, a deal set to transform trade and investment flows between the two countries. And for businesses, it promises duty-free access across key sectors, new opportunities and services, and greater mobility for professionals. Here's how this agreement could reshape the economic landscape and also open fresh avenues for growth. Gautam Roy has the report.
India and Oman have signed a landmark comprehensive economic partnership agreement, opening a new era of trade and investment between the two nations. For Indian businesses, the deal delivers unprecedented opportunities. Oman has granted zero duty access on more than 98% of its tariff lines, covering nearly all of India's exports by value. This means labor-intensive sectors such as textiles, leather, gems and jewelry, footwear, engineering goods, plastics, furniture, agriculture, pharmaceuticals, medical devices and automobiles will enjoy virtually universal duty-free entry into the Omani market.
कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक पार्टनरशिप एग्रीमेंट यानी सीपा हमारी पार्टनरशिप को 21st सेंचुरी में नया विश्वास, नई ऊर्जा से भर देगा। ये हमारे साझा भविष्य का ब्लूप्रिंट है।
The agreement unlocks the services sector as well. Oman has offered commitments across 127 subsectors, from IT and business services to education, healthcare and R&D. This creates high-value opportunities for Indian service providers and supports job creation in knowledge-driven industries. The SEPA enhances mobility for Indian professionals. For the first time, Oman has liberalized entry and stay for accountants, architects, medical experts and other skilled professionals. Intra-corporate transferee quotas have been expanded and contractual service suppliers can now stay up to 2 years with extensions possible.
We invite Omani business persons to leverage India's vibrant market, while Indian businesses will find Oman as a strategic gateway to the Gulf, Africa and West Asia.
Indian companies gain the right to 100% foreign direct investment in Oman's major service sectors, enabling deeper commercial presence and long-term expansion in the Gulf region. The agreement includes unique provisions on traditional medicine and wellness, opening doors for India's Ayush sector and medical value travel. It also fast-tracks approvals for Indian pharmaceuticals, recognizes Indian organic and halal certifications, and reduces non-tariff barriers.
This will really give an opportunity for Indian market to expand through Oman to other markets, and for Omani businessmen and markets to expand into the vast and strong Indian economical zone.
Together, these measures are expected to boost bilateral trade well beyond the current $10 billion, strengthen supply chains, generate employment, and empower MSMEs, artisans, and women-led enterprises. Now, the goal for the non-oil and non-precious metal trade has been set for $100 billion by 2030. That's the kind of rich dividends which SEPA, such as the one with the UAE and Oman, can reap in a very short span of time, which is why it's being said that trade between India and Oman will more than double in under 5 years. With cameraperson Mohan Mukut Sharma, this is Gautam Roy in Oman, DD India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's three-nation visit to Jordan, Ethiopia and Oman has underlined India's rising global stature and diplomatic outreach. The four-day tour from December 15 to 18 focused on deepening trade, strategic cooperation and people-to-people ties. Key agreements were signed with Jordan. Ties with Ethiopia were elevated to a strategic partnership and major economic pacts were concluded with Oman. Nishchoy Roy has the report.
From the deserts of West Asia to the heart of Africa, India's diplomatic footprint is widening. confident, credible and consequential. Under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, India today is not just engaging the world, but shaping partnerships that reflect its rising global stature and voice of the Global South. That momentum was on full display during the Prime Minister's three-nation visit to Jordan, Ethiopia and Oman from December 15 to 18. Prime Minister Modi was in Oman on December 15. His visit coincided with the 75th anniversary of India-Jordan diplomatic relations. Prime Minister held talks with Jordanian Prime Minister Dr. Jafar Hassan. Leaders discussed trade, defense, renewable energy and people-to-people links. PM proposed raising bilateral trade to $5 billion and linking Jordan's digital payments with India's UPI.
Honorable Prime Minister was accorded ceremonial welcome at the airport. Later in the day, Prime Minister departed for Al Husseiniya Palace. At the palace, he was warmly welcomed by His Majesty King Abdullah II. Prime Minister was accorded a guard of honor at the palace. After this, both the leaders had a one-on-one conversation, followed by delegation-level talks.
During this visit, India and Jordan signed MOUs on renewable energy, water management, digital solutions, cultural exchange, and a twinning agreement between Petra and Ellora. Prime Minister Modi and King Abdullah II addressed the India-Jordan Business Forum, focusing on boosting trade and investment ties. From Jordan, the Prime Minister travelled to Ethiopia. India and Ethiopia elevated ties to a strategic partnership, reaffirming cooperation as Global South partners for an inclusive world order. During this visit, Prime Minister Modi was also conferred Ethiopia's highest civilian honour, the Great Honour Nishan of Ethiopia. On December 17, the Prime Minister addressed a joint session of the Ethiopian Parliament.
The two leaders met in one-to-one format, followed by delegation-level talks and banquet hosted by Prime Minister Abe. The two leaders had productive and wide-ranging discussions where they reviewed the full spectrum of the bilateral partnership.
In the final leg of the tour, Prime Minister Modi visited Oman. India and Oman signed several MOUs, including a comprehensive economic partnership agreement and MOUs in maritime, agriculture and higher education. Besides, Sultan of Oman, Haitham bin Tariq, conferred upon Prime Minister Narendra Modi the Order of Oman for his exceptional contribution to India-Oman ties and his visionary leadership. Dedicating this award to the people of India, Prime Minister called this award a symbol of affection and trust between the people of India and Oman. Nishoy Roy's report for DD India.
Well, still to come here on DD India News Hour. Deadly floods leave Bolivian town buried in mud, 20 dead. Farmers in Brussels protest against EU's planned trade deal with South American bloc Mercosur. Poland announces full combat readiness of Patriot missile systems.
For sustainability to become more than just a statement, it needs to be practical and seamlessly fit into our lives.
If we are thinking about a net zero economy, and obviously automobile sector is at the center of this transformation. Instead of buying new vehicle, if I can retrofit and upgrade my existing vehicle, environmentally speaking, it is superior.
Zero waste means repair, reuse, analyze.
We realized that if women became involved in decision making and generated income, the whole family would benefit. Before, we needed a lot of manpower to handle the waste. But now, with the conveyor belt,
it converts the waste into electricity, powering 2 farms.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. EU leaders have agreed on a proposal to use frozen Russian assets to strengthen Ukraine's fight against Russia. But Belgium has expressed concerns over releasing funds to Ukraine as most of the frozen assets are deposited in its banks. This report is filed by Mohammed Abzurul Hassan.
European Union leaders have agreed at a summit in Brussels to work on the option of financing Ukraine in 2026 and 2027 through the use of frozen Russian assets rather than joint EU borrowing. The EU sees Russia's war as a threat to its own security and wants to keep Ukraine financed and fighting.
We are certainly after a breakthrough, and the breakthrough means that everybody agrees that it is worth trying and that the use of Russian assets for Ukraine would be justified and good for the Europe. But some countries will fight until the end to maximize guarantees for themselves.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky attended the European summit. In press briefing, Zelensky said that he had told European partners that his country needed a decision this year on a plan to use Russian assets to plug Ukraine's budget gap. He also sought security guarantees from EU and US.
This is the constitution of Ukraine, and let the Ukrainian people decide what to do with our constitution and not someone else. Certainly not because of some calls from Russian Federation or anyone else. This is our constitution and this is the cost. We wanted to have such security guarantees. We believe that we deserve them.
The European Commission has been contemplating for a long time using frozen Russian central bank assets that are mostly held in a Belgian clearinghouse to secure a huge loan to Kyiv. But Belgium is deeply concerned about legal and financial risks, and other states, including Italy, have also expressed worries. European Commission Chief von der Leyen says that the Commission has been looking into addressing the Belgium concern.
I totally support Belgium that they insist on having their concerns and worries accommodated. And we are working day and night with Belgium, and I want to thank the Prime Minister for his personal engagement.
Meanwhile, Kremlin has confirmed that Russia is preparing contacts with the United States to obtain details on Washington's talks with European powers and Ukraine regarding a potential peace settlement to end the Ukraine conflict. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov acknowledged planned discussions amid reports of a weekend meeting in Miami involving Russian President Putin's envoy Kirill Dmitriev, but no deal has been reached yet. Mohammad Absarul Hassan for DD India.
And Poland has announced a major boost to its national defense. Warsaw says that its Patriot air and missile defense systems, integrated with the US-developed Integrated Battle Command System, have now achieved full combat readiness, marking a key milestone in the country's defense modernization. The Patriot launchers form the backbone of Poland's Wisla program, designed to build an integrated air defense shield capable of countering missiles, aircraft and drones along NATO's eastern flank. The Polish Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysk called the Patriots Poland's most valuable national defense asset, while acknowledging also that the high cost of intercepting incoming threats as one of the biggest challenges.
This is the most expensive component of Poland's national defense system. The launch of drones or missiles and the cost of defending against them is 10 times higher, if not much more, than the cost of missiles or drones that are launched. This shows how major an investment it is, and for that I would like to sincerely thank all Polish people, all taxpayers who contribute to this system.
Russia's foreign ministry has said that International Claims Commission for Ukraine, launched by some European powers, had no legal force for Russia and was driven by an attempt by European countries to spread propaganda against Russia.
We have repeatedly stated that Russian Federation's principal position regarding the pseudo-legal institutions, agencies and instruments created under the Council of Europe's umbrella, both these structures and their decisions are legally null and void for us. We will regard the participation of any states and international organizations in such inventions of the Strasbourg bureaucracy, including accession to the aforementioned convention, as an extremely hostile move toward Russia with all the ensuing consequences.
The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and the European Council President Antonio Costa met farm representatives as the EU looks to diversify its trade partnerships, facing pressure from US tariffs under President Donald Trump and intensifying competition from China. However, the deal remains deeply divisive. France and Italy are calling for a postponement of the signing, citing strong opposition from their politically sensitive agricultural sectors. The backlash spilled onto the streets of Brussels on Thursday, where farmers staged a fiery protest against the agreement, hurling projectiles and also setting fire as they voiced concern and fears that this deal would undercut European agriculture. And ever since retaking the White House, the US President Donald Trump, he has been embroiled in conflict with the country's universities. European and German universities quickly saw this as a potential chance to attract talent from the United States. And now some numbers are out. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and he joins me from Berlin. Lars, so what are German universities reporting on this?
Thanks for having me. Well, they are indeed seeing bigger demand from the United States. A new report on this came from the German Academic Exchange Service, or DAAD, and that organization is the world's largest funding organization for the international exchange of students and researchers. So they are the link between German universities and foreign students and researchers. They're saying that the number of applications coming from the United States has more than doubled this year. And they're tying this trend directly to President Trump's policies. Since taking office, Trump has cut billions of dollars in funding for universities. He's curtailed academic freedom at universities, and he fired hundreds of scientists from federal agencies. Now add to that parts of Trump's immigration policies and the fact that many top researchers as well as top students in the United States are actually from other countries. And you have a lot of people worrying about not only their academic career, but also about their future in the US. And that is, according to the DAAD, exactly the environment in which they're looking for an alternative, and in many cases finding it here in Germany.
So talking about that alternative, is Germany actively recruiting talent from the US?
No, they're not. In fact, the DAAD is still working with lots of American universities, and they keep investing in transatlantic partnerships. They're also saying that they are working for the benefit of Germany, but specifically not against the United States. The president of the DAAD says in an interview too, quote, "We're advertising in the US, but we're not recruiting." He even goes as far as to say that Germany, or Europe for that matter, could not come close to replacing the US as the #1 country for academics and research. Universities in the United States are better funded than anywhere in the world, and researchers there are leading in many fields. But he also says that while we're seeing an uptick of US applications that is due to recent politics, the quality of German universities in general has always been well known around the world, and current numbers actually prove that point. Currently, most non-German students here come from other EU countries, but there's also some 58,000 students from India, some 38,000 from China, more than 10,000 each from Turkey, Iran, Pakistan, and Syria, and there's thousands of students from African countries as well. So Germany is already seen as a great location for academics, but current developments in the US have certainly helped tip the scales a bit.
So how important is all this for the German economy?
It's huge. Germany obviously once the economic backbone of the EU and one of the most innovative countries in the world, has seen a weak economy for years. We've also seen our dependency on other countries rise. We've seen countries like China playing a much bigger role in the world, and no longer just in manufacturing, but in development of future technologies. And it's high time for Germany to change course and find ways to grow stronger in this global fight for leadership and influence. Germany is currently investing in future technologies, but we are in many sectors dealing with a shortage of skilled workers and often with the infrastructure needed to innovate and develop leading businesses. So if we're getting more of the world's brightest minds to study here and to integrate them in our society, we have an actually better chance economically in the long run as well.
Lars Holter from Deutsche Welle, thanks very much. Now, Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has vowed a sweeping crackdown on extremism as well as anti-Semitism on Thursday, proposing, in fact, he promised new laws targeting hate preachers as well as visa cancellations for those spreading division and federal offences for serious racial vilification. So the announcement came as the mourners farewelled 10-year-old Matilda, who is the youngest victim of Sunday's terrorist attack at a Hanukkah celebration on Sydney's Bondi Beach. The father and son gunman Sajid Akram, who was killed by the police, and Naveed Akram, who has been charged with murder and terrorism, were allegedly inspired by the Islamic State ideology. The duo killed 15 people in the shooting.
These anti-Semitic terrorist attacks will not be successful with their objective, which is to divide us as a nation. We will continue to come together as a nation. It would appear that there is evidence that this was inspired by a terrorist organisation, by ISIS. Now, some of the evidence which has been procured, including the presence of Islamic State flags in the vehicle that has been seized, are a part of that. Radical perversion of Islam is absolutely a problem. It is something that has been identified globally as a problem as well. ISIS is created by an evil ideology that has been called out not just by the Australian government but globally as well.
Rescue teams in eastern Bolivia are battling extreme conditions as they continue search and relief operations after devastating floods. Working through waist-deep water and mud-filled streets, responders say the death toll has risen to at least 20 following the weekend disaster. More than 600 families across 11 communities in the Santa Cruz region have been affected after an overflowing river triggered catastrophic flooding early Saturday. Authorities say at least 24 people are still missing as rescue teams race against time to reach previously inaccessible districts. India-Bangladesh ties face strain after the advisor Tawheed Hossain's remarks on the ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and also alleged Indian involvement. But as anti-India protests grow near India's mission in Dhaka, India has rejected the blame for Bangladesh's instability, urging Dhaka to ensure security and free polls as well. So Hasina hit out as well at the interim chief, the chief advisor, that is, Mohammad Yunus, for the worsening law and order situation in Bangladesh. Let's listen in this report.
India has expressed strong concerns at the deteriorating security environment in Bangladesh and rejected false narrative being pushed by the extremist groups in the neighbouring country. India's Ministry of External Affairs summoned Bangladesh High Commissioner to India, Riaz Hamidullah, on Wednesday and apprised him of India's strong concerns and specific threats surrounding the Indian High Commission in Dhaka. India's concerns have been heightened following a protest march by the Jalai Oikea. Although this group is not yet a formal political party, it is a broad coalition of civil society organizations, activist groups and student bodies, and is expected to play a significant role in the national elections scheduled for February 12th next year. MEA said India has always supported peace and stability in Bangladesh and has consistently called for free, fair and inclusive and credible elections in a peaceful environment. India's démarche came just 3 days after Bangladesh summoned Indian High Commissioner Pranay Verma over recent statements of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Meanwhile, India has shut down 2 visa application centers in Bangladesh's Rajshahi and Kula due to security situation in the country. Earlier on December 17th, India had also shut down the IVAC in Bangladesh capital Dhaka. Amnesty International has also called on Bangladesh to create space for freedom of expression and immediately release journalist Anis Alamgir. It said that the interim government must uphold its obligations under International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights and ensure the journalist's immediate release. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, still to come here on DD India News Hour. We'll have a discussion with an expert on the importance of SEPA between India and Oman. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh addresses the Air Force Commanders Conclave. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn, and we are joined by Ambassador J.S. Mukul, former senior diplomat. He's joining us from Gurugram. Thank you very much, Ambassador Mukul. If we look at the SEPA, could this deal, in a way, help India to diversify into the region in terms of India has been, looking largely at the UAE, but now with Oman having another SEPA, and the potential to take the market beyond even West Asia. What do you think about India's ability to diversify as a result of this?
Well, thank you and good evening. Yes, at the end of a very successful visit, which led to many outcomes, certainly the India-Oman Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or SEPA, is certainly, I think, the most important. Of course, it was expected. We were all looking forward to this. And I think it's a landmark or a milestone in the strategic partnership, the all-encompassing or the comprehensive strategic partnership that India and Oman have since 2008. So as I said, this is a major milestone. This is a major landmark. Honorable Prime Minister, of course, I think described it as a blueprint for India-Oman shared relations going forward. So I think that kind of summarizes or sums up the importance of this. To your question, specific question about diversification. Yes, first it is mutually beneficial and to the mutual advantage of both sides. And I think it is very comprehensive in the sense that it opens up opportunities or unlocks opportunities in almost all sectors of the economic commercial relationship, not just trade, but also with regard to investment, and there are a number of related things. I think the Honorable Prime Minister speaking to the business community at the India-Oman Business Forum after the signing of the SEPA exhorted them to take advantage of the SEPA and give wings, so to say, to the SEPA. So yes, the expectation is certainly that this particular landmark agreement will help in both intensifying the economic commercial relations between the two countries, but also diversifying it into new areas, since it removes trade barriers, it provides for greater access and openness, and it brings the economies of two countries and the business communities together.
Clearly, India is strengthening its business relations with West Asia, where there is a strong Indian community. But also, the point is that this area is strong in oil, in energy supplies, and India could. After all, India looks for the best markets. And best prices in terms of oil. In this context, do you see, India in a position to utilize this kind of an agreement to deal with the volatility in the global oil markets?
Yes, it looks at both areas, the traditional energy areas of oil, LNG, petrochemicals, etc. But also, interestingly, it calls the joint statement issued at the end of the visit calls upon, calls upon the business community and shows commitment to other areas, the non-conventional areas, the new and renewables, the green hydrogen, green ammonia, and all these have been clearly spelled out and mentioned. So again, it's not just in the traditional areas where we are already strong with regard to Oman. For example, in the petrochemicals and fertilizer sector, OMIFCO is the largest, was at the turn of the century $1 billion worth of joint venture, 50-50 between Oman Oil Company and the KIPCO and IFCO of India, with 100% export of urea, etc. to India. So it's already a very major cooperation in the traditional areas of oil, LNG, petroleum products, fertilizers, but also trying to diversify it to other areas. In that context, let me also say that Prime Minister invited Oman to join the Global Biofuels Alliance, apart from, of course, joining the CDRI. So that is again on the energy side. I think SEPA will also be a kind of a building block, if I can put it, with regard to the larger India-GCC economic cooperation, because that FTA, India-GCC, has been in the works for a very long time. We, of course, have one with UAE, and now I think this being the second one among the GCC countries will, I think, provide impetus both for bilateral trade investment, but also a kind of building block, as I see it, in terms of the larger India.
Indeed, and you say that the Prime Minister also said that it's a blueprint for future. In this context, we look at the services and professional mobility. Indeed, after all, at the end of the day, a large number of Indians work and live there. To what extent, is this something that could be, let's say, a blueprint for other countries? After all, the mobility agreements are something that, Indian workers are looking for.
Absolutely. I think it's not just trade and investment. Again, it also calls for creation of new jobs. And that, I think, is something which would be very welcome to the very large Indian expatriate or diaspora community in Oman. So there is, I think, as I said, it was all encompassing. It's a very broad-based agreement. And I think there is a lot of expectation. Of course, time will alone tell as to whether this turns out to be a kind of game changer. But certainly at the moment, it looks like a major landmark, a blueprint for India-Oman shared future relations.
Both India and Oman are, sort of maritime gateways in that sense. To what extent, is the maritime cooperation going to also facilitate, at the end of the day, the economic cooperation?
Larger India-Oman, vision statement from 2023, the last summit that happened in Delhi. But I think this is a specific one with regard to the idea being to look at maritime security, maritime piracy, which is fortunately at a lower ebb today, unlike in the past. Also look at blue economy, look at the maritime domain awareness and exchange of maritime information. So again, after all, we always say that India and Oman are joined by the waters of the Arabian Sea. So the maritime cooperation has always been very strong, whether it was in the defense-related side, where India and Oman have regular naval exercises starting from 1993, a biennial every 2 years. I think we have finished 14 editions of what is called the Nasim al-Bahar, or the sea breeze exercise.
Right.
And this maritime agreement or MOU vision agreement will augment and further intensify our maritime cooperation.
A final question with regard again to the large Indian diaspora present. We see a lot of remittances coming in from there, isn't it? Are we likely to see much more now in terms, because after all, the economic potential of the relationship has vastly increased?
No, I think that is something that could be expected. We get at the moment about 3 billion out of the total remittances globally, about 118 billion US dollars per annum. About 45% comes from the 6 GCC countries, which is about 45 billion, and Oman contributes about 3 billion. So yes, as I said, more jobs would obviously mean more remittances, more economic, more money in the hands of the workers and our professionals. But also, if you recall, the joint statement, stop of cooperation in other economic areas, like, for example, linking India's UPI system with the Omani digital payment system. There is also the offer that they could look at the RuPay payment system of India. And of course, the two sides agreed to explore trade in local currencies. So I think all those areas will help boost trade, investment, jobs, and overall the economic commercial relations between the two, which in turn will obviously have a positive impact on remittances going forward.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Ambassador J.S. Mukul, for putting that entire SEPA into such clear context for us. Now, moving on to our next story. India's parliament transacted substantial legislative business on Thursday during the ongoing winter session. In the Lok Sabha, that's the lower house of India's parliament, the Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission, Gramin VB G Ramji Bill. In fact, 2025, it was passed. And this bill was passed following a marathon discussion and debate in the lower house, following which the bill was passed on Thursday. Parliament has passed the Sustainable Harnessing and Advancement of Nuclear Energy for Transforming India Bill 2025 with the Rajya Sabha, that's the upper house, approving it on Thursday. The Lok Sabha had passed this bill on Wednesday. It replaces the Atomic Energy Act of 1962 and the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act of 2010.
Before 2014 or 2013-14, the budget of Atomic Energy Department was just 13,879 crore, which is now increased in the current year to 37,483 crore, nearly 107.07% hike. In 2015, this government took another heroic decision and opened up the nuclear sector to joint ventures, but joint ventures limited only to the PSUs, not to the private. In 2017, for the first time in a single cabinet decision, a bulk approval was given to set up 10 reactors.
Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan participated in a Christmas celebration organized by the Catholic Bishops' Conference of India in New Delhi on Thursday. The Vice President extended warm greetings to the Christian community ahead of the festival of Christmas. Speaking at the event, he said that Christmas celebrates universal values like peace, compassion, humility and service to humanity, emphasizing India's pluralistic ethos. He said that the festival reflects the vision of Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh asserted that Operation Sindoor has demonstrated India's high-impact, short-duration operational capability. Addressing the Air Force Commanders Conclave in New Delhi, the Defence Minister commended the performance of India's air defence system and other equipment used effectively during Operation Sindoor and urged commanders to take lessons from Operation for every future challenge. And he praised the courage, speed and precision with which the Indian Air Force destroyed the terror camps during the operation, effectively handling the irresponsible reaction from Pakistan after the strikes. So India handled it well. The Defence Minister also in fact, underlined that the Indian Air Force is a technologically advanced, operationally agile, strategically confident and future-oriented force, safeguarding national interests in today's times. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. We'll get you a report on day 2 of the second WHO Global Summit on Traditional Medicine. The Indian Minister Kirti Vardhan Singh meets the Afghan Minister of Public Health.
For sustainability to become more than just a statement, it needs to be practical and seamlessly fit into our lives.
If we are thinking about a net zero economy, and obviously automobile sector is at the center of this transformation. Instead of buying new vehicle, if I can retrofit and upgrade my existing vehicle, environmentally speaking, it is superior.
Zero waste means repair, reuse, analyze.
We realized that if women became involved in decision making and generated income, the whole family would benefit. Before, we needed a lot of manpower to handle the waste. But now, with the conveyor belt,
It converts the waste into electricity, powering 2 farms.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. The European Central Bank has held its key interest rates steady for a 4th consecutive meeting, signalling confidence that inflation will stabilize around its 2% target in the medium term.
The Governing Council today decided to keep the 3 key ECB interest rates unchanged. Our updated assessment reconfirms that inflation should stabilize at our 2% target in the medium term.
Civil-military fusion is the need of the hour, feels experts in India. And in fact, a retired general of the Indian Army, he argues why can't India have civil talent for military excellence in his book Civil-Military Fusion as a metric of national power and comprehensive security. The author is also a member of the Union Public Service Commission. A discussion was held in Delhi on Thursday to delve more into the subject.
Civil-military fusion is the need of the hour, especially for a country like India, which aims to become a developed nation by 2047. I have with me General Raj Shukla, who's written the book. Let's talk to him and find out. General Shukla, what makes you think that there's high time that there has to be a civil-military fusion?
So see, the drivers of civil-military fusion are many. One is, of course, obviously China, which for some surprising reason practices what they call military-civil fusion. In our country, at least in the initial years after independence, we somehow separated from the civil from the military, and this concept grew into larger silos. So private sector, government, civil, military. Within the military, the Air Force, Navy and Army were charting independent paths. And I mean, if I may say so, while we were wasting time on all this, China was doing military-civil fusion. President Xi says, why build walls of granite between cylinders of excellence, common sense, and then takes them to many projects. So the Chinese State Shipbuilding Corporation, their whole approach to AI, their approach to startups is about fusing capacities. The Americans are doing so in consequence. Most surprisingly, our ancient civilizational wisdom tells us Saraswati, Lakshmi or Durga Commission. What is it? Create centers of excellence in academia, R&D. Those will create wealth and technology. Use that wealth, technology and talent. That technology and talent should service the cause of Lakshmi, wealth. And some of the Lakshmi should be invested in Durga. What a brilliant concept.
You know, Shukla, when we say civil-military fusion, exactly what does it mean? I mean, theaterization, paramilitary forces, civil, what?
So it's far beyond the military now. In fact, the modern interpretation goes beyond the connotation of civil military. Now it is talent of any kind, attribute of any kind. So, in the Indian context today, it will be government, private sector, civil servants, the military, diplomacy, startups, business, all coming together in what I call a fused enterprise of civil-military fusion, which will do what? It will give you economic productivity, technological prowess, and strategic military heft. So that is the way you strengthen national security.
So there you heard General Raj Shukla, civil-military fusion is the secret sauce towards making India a developed nation and also Indian Army and Indian Defence Forces a developed one. With cameraman Rajesh Shaki in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristu for DD India.
Well, India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Kirti Vardhan Singh, on Thursday met the Afghan Minister of Public Health, Maulavi Noor Jalal Jalali, to discuss bilateral cooperation. The talks focused on strengthening healthcare ties, including the long-term supply of pharmaceutical products and broader development cooperation in the health sector. India also renewed its commitment to supporting the health security as well as medical needs of the Afghan people. Co-hosted by the World Health Organization and the Government of India's Ayush Ministry, the three-day global health as well as the global summit, the Global Summit on Traditional Medicine in New Delhi. It has brought together policymakers, scientists, practitioners, also indigenous knowledge holders and civil society leaders from across the world. The participants have showed enthusiasm about this event while appreciating the Indian government for organizing it as well.
The Indian government has done a wonderful thing by enabling the WHO to come here and host this event. It's amazing, and it's amazing to see how India and the Ayush have already integrated so much of traditional medicine, where we lag behind actually in Europe, and we are trying to gain that momentum and get more funding to make sure that we have traditional medicines within all of our countries.
The participants also highlighted the opportunity this summit is offering for like-minded people in this field to come together and exchange ideas.
For me, being here is really an opportunity to learn and to see the broader, the bigger picture of the world, and to learn from the colleagues from the other continents and other regions how they are thinking, how they are perceiving, how they are developing all the different traditional methods. So people are the biggest resource.
Representatives from over 100 countries and 27 health ministries attended the World Health Organization Global Summit on second day of summit in New Delhi. The Ayush Minister Pratap Rao Jadhav informed that WHO Director Dr. Tedros praised India's contribution in traditional medicine.
आज ये दूसरे दिन में हमने सवेरे WHO के जो DG है डॉक्टर टेड्रोस के साथ भी हमारी आज बैठक हुई। जामनगर में सेंटर चालू है ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन सेंटर, उसके बारे में भी उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा रिप्लाई वहाँ पर दिया कि वहाँ पर बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहा है। भारत की ओर से हमें बहुत अच्छा सहयोग भी मिल रहा है कि आज की इसमें लगभग दुनिया भर से 100 कंट्री से भी ज़्यादा प्रतिनिधि आए हैं। लगभग 27 देशों के मंत्री, स्वास्थ्य मंत्री इस समिट में शामिल हुए।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the social media platform X has lauded the passage of the Shanti Bill by Parliament. In a post, the Prime Minister said, and I quote, "The passing of the Shanti Bill by both houses of Parliament marks a transformational moment for our technology landscape." Prime Minister expressed his gratitude to MPs who have supported its passage. From safely powering AI to enabling green manufacturing, it delivers a decisive boost to a clean energy future for the country and the world. It also opens numerous opportunities for the private sector and for our youth, is what the Prime Minister says. This is the ideal time to invest, innovate and build in India. You're watching DD India Newshour. Let's get you the sports news. India has created history by clinching the Squash World Cup title in the mixed team event for the very first time. In an exclusive conversation with DD India's Gaurav Kumar, Velavan Senthil Kumar reflected on India's inspiring journey that has brought glory to the nation. The coaching staff also highlighted the electrifying atmosphere, noting that it was the biggest crowd ever witnessed in a squash game.
It is for the first time that India have won the Squash World Cup in mixed team event. Right now we have with us V. Senthil Kumar. Let's talk to him. Senthil, what you would like to say about this victory?
Very happy with how all of us played. The entire team played throughout the week. Very happy that we could win the World Cup in India, in Chennai. And of course, I'm really happy that I could get the win. This is my debut for the Indian team at the World Cup. So really happy to be playing some good squash and finish the week off with the title.
We have also with us the coach. So what have you tell the team in the final round that in which means you have boosted them for going to this final?
I think the team was performing very well from the start. It took a bit of a while to get going because it's 7 points, a different format. But once they got going and settled down, I think they just grew in confidence day to day, match to match. And also, what helped us a lot is the support from the spectators. The crowd was fantastic. The biggest crowd we've seen for squash event ever in a venue. And that helped.
How do you see this squash championship as well as a squash game in India? How it is progressing in India?
There's been a steady progress, and with all of us winning various medals around the world, it does inspire, and especially with the World Cup win, it does inspire a lot of young kids to take up the sport. And of course, squash is receiving the recognition that it deserves, and hopefully there are more kids who pick up a squash racket and start playing the sport, and hopefully we will have a lot more champions in the coming years.
Thanks for talking to us. So this is Senthil Kumar, who is saying that this cup means a lot for them, and he's hoping that this team will also produce a good show in the coming Olympic. With cameraman Ajit, this is Gaurav Kumar reporting from Delhi, DD India.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app, available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lin. From all of us here in Delhi, thank you very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.